Have you ever wondered what a customs audit is really looking for? I'll give you a hint. It's not just about getting the code right. So today, we're going to build the ultimate defense, an audit-proof classification dossier. This is the key to not just surviving, but actually thriving in the complex world of customs compliance.
So, what's the real difference between an audit that's a breeze and one that's a total nightmare? It isn't just about the final HS code you picked. Nope, it's all about being able to prove why you chose that code in the first place. Let's dig into what that really means.
You see, what customs audits are really testing these days, it's completely changed. It's no longer just a simple check of your final number. With global trade exploding and a huge focus on risk management, auditors are now digging into your entire decision-making process. They want to see your homework.
And this quote right here? It just nails it. They don't just ask what your code is. They're asking why and how. Customs authorities all over the world, following guidance from the World Customs Organization, are all about the process now. They want to see the trail of evidence that led you to your conclusion. And that brings us to two words that are absolutely crucial here: reproducibility and control. Think about it. Could someone else, a total stranger, an auditor, look at your files a few years from now and come to the exact same conclusion you did? If the answer is yes, well, you've hit the gold standard.
This slide really breaks down that mental shift you need to make. The old way of thinking was all about being correct, which was often based on one person's experience, or let's be honest, their gut feel. That is a huge risk. The new way, the audit-proof way, is all about being explainable. It's about having a process that's backed by solid, documented evidence. This is the bedrock of a bulletproof system.
All right, so how do we actually build this explainable process? We do it with a 10-point audit-proof dossier. Think of this as your playbook, your blueprint for every single product that leaves absolutely no room for doubt. Let's walk through all 10 points, one by one. First up, the absolute basics, your cover sheet. This thing immediately tells an auditor exactly what product we're talking about. Part numbers, names, photos, the date the decision was made. Simple, clear, and totally professional.
Next, you need objective proof. This is where you ground your classification in cold, hard facts. We're talking catalogs, technical drawings, and especially a bill of materials. This shows the auditor you're not just guessing, you're using real, concrete data about the product.
Point 3 is where we get into the nitty-gritty. What is this thing actually made of? How is it put together? This kind of data is absolutely critical for things like determining the product's essential character and for navigating those tricky rules of origin. Okay, now we're at the heart of the dossier, the classification memo. This is where you tell the story. You lay out your logical argument, step by step, following the general rules of interpretation, the GRIs. This memo is what turns a simple number into a rock-solid, legally sound conclusion.
Number 5. This is a total pro move. You actually document the other HS codes you thought about but ultimately rejected, and you explain exactly why. This shows the auditor you've done your due diligence, and it basically answers their toughest questions before they even have a chance to ask them. Look, you want to make the auditor's life as easy as possible, right? So you include the actual excerpts of the legal section and chapter notes you used. This lets them quickly follow your legal trail without having to go hunt down the rulebook themselves. It just shows you've got nothing to hide. Now you're going to add another layer of authority. You cite the World Customs Organization's explanatory notes. The WCO literally writes the rules, so citing their official interpretations, that carries a ton of weight and strengthens your case immensely.
Now we're talking about your secret weapon, official rulings. Things like a binding tariff information, a BTI in the EU, or a CBP ruling in the US, these are pretty much the strongest evidence you can possibly have. If you have one for your product, you feature it prominently, it's your trump card.
You know how audits can get confusing fast? An auditor might be questioning a code, but are they talking about the international 6-digit code or the 8 or 10-digit national one? This simple table clears all that up. It maps the 6-digit code to the specific codes for each country, preventing any miscommunication.
And finally, number 10, the changelog. This is so important because audits are basically a form of time travel. They're looking at the past. This log is your proof that your classification was correct based on the product specs and the rules as they existed at the time of import. It's your documented proof of due diligence. Okay, take a look at this. This slide lays out the unbreakable, non-negotiable order for building your argument. You always start at the top. The GRIs and the legal notes, that's the law, period. Then you look at the specific wording of the heading. Only after you've done that do you bring in things like explanatory notes and official rulings as powerful supporting evidence. Follow this hierarchy every single time and your logic will be unshakable.
So we know how to build the perfect dossier, but it's just as important to know what not to do. Let's look at 4 really common traps that can completely derail all your hard work and make that beautiful dossier pretty much worthless. You want to know the biggest mistake, the number one thing we see all the time? It's this: blindly trusting the HS code your supplier gives you. Remember, as the importer of record, the legal responsibility is 100% on you, not them. You can't outsource that risk.
And a fix is actually pretty simple, but you have to be disciplined. You have to treat your supplier's code as a suggestion, a starting point, nothing more. You must always conduct your own analysis based on that hierarchy of rules we just talked about. And here are a few more quick-fire traps to watch out for. First, relying only on keyword searches. They're a great tool for research, sure, but they are not a legal justification. Next, make sure you know the difference between the 6-digit international HS code and the 8 or 10-digit national codes. Mixing those up can lead to huge penalties. And finally, if your product changes, your classification has to be reviewed. A new material, a different design, anything can change the code. That changelog we mentioned, it's your best friend and your safety net here.
After all this, it might seem like we're just playing defense, just getting ready for an audit. But what's really powerful about this whole process is that it's not just about avoiding trouble. It's about building a smarter, way more efficient internal system that's going to save you time, slash your errors, and ultimately protect your company's bottom line.
And you got to remember, this is a long-term game. You have to keep these records. As you can see, different places have very different rules. The US wants 5 years, the EU says 3, but Japan can go up to 7. So if you're a global company, the answer is simple. Find the longest retention period you face and make that your global standard. It's really the only way to be safe.
So I'll leave you with this final test, a kind of gut check for your own process. Could a brand new employee who just started today, or a customs auditor who knows nothing about your business, pick up one of your classification files and without asking you a single question, understand your logic and reach the exact same conclusion? If the answer to that is yes, then congratulations. You're not just ready for an audit, you are building a truly world-class compliance program.